So I'm just going to start off with some really light basic numbers. I know that there was like an Instagram presentation already. How many people were there? All right, so I'm sorry if I kind of repeat anything that's already been said, but my presentation won't necessarily focus on Instagram itself. But, you know, like John said, when Instagram first came out, it was just kind of like a place where hipsters like took photographs of like street photos or like food photography, puppy photography. It wasn't really taken serious, but then since then, there's been a huge photographic community that's built around the service. And now, I think since September, there are now over 100 million registered users on Instagram, on both iOS and Android platforms. Election night, there are over 250,000 tagged photographs of the election. And those are just the tagged photographs alone, so you know that there are many more that weren't necessarily tagged. Instagram has consistently, I think since the summer, the last month I think I read was like June or July, they have consistently surpassed Twitter with the number of daily active users. So there's a huge base that revolves around Instagram. And so this is a great way for you as photographers to kind of like push your stuff, to get a fan base and to get a very large following through the medium of photography. In terms of journalism, it's also it's a very important tool because it allows you to kind of tap into a community to pull from. Also, an example that I like to give is the recent New York City shooting, right? The first photograph that was found and pulled and published from the professional wire services, AP, Getty, Reuters, they pulled from Instagram. The first photograph that went up from that incident came from Instagram, and all these newspapers and wire services just started searching for hashtags, New York City shooting. They found them, they contacted the photographers directly, they paid the photographers for the rights to use the images. So, again, there are a lot of opportunities with Instagram, much more than just showing off the Indian curry that you had for dinner last night. So my presentation is going to kind of focus on two aspects of the mobile photography world. The first aspect are applications. And there are many more photography applications than Instagram. And so the way that I'm going to show this to you basically is it's going to work from applications to take a photograph towards the editing process and then finally pushing them out. I'm going to show you briefly some hardware accessories that you guys can get for the iPhone, and a lot of it will apply more to video than it does for photography. Would you guys be interested in also learning about video? Okay, cool. So what I'm showing you guys right here is called the Mobile Reporting Field Guide. You guys can actually download a free copy from mobilereportingguide.com. This was created by this former photojournalist for the San Jose Mercury News. His name is Richard Cochi Hernandez, and he now is a professor at Berkeley. And he and the students kind of created this mobile reporting field guide. If you have an iPad, you can download it for free as an interactive iBook, which is really cool. They'll have video explanations and demos of all the apps that they show. So it's really neat. But you guys can also download it as a PDF file for free too. Okay, so first, let's dive into apps. Oh, and one more thing. Who here has an iPhone? Okay, and who has an Android phone? Okay. This presentation is going to be more tailored towards users who have iPhones. Some of the applications that I'm going to show are iPhone specific. Android is still kind of like catching up when it comes to applications. And for the most part, all the big names are there, like Instagram, but there's Hipstamatic still isn't in there. I'm going to show you guys a really powerful photo editing tool. It's not available for Android. So I guess just keep that in mind for now. So I'll go over this. I'm going to be showing you guys Pro Camera. And so Pro Camera is kind of like, it's very similar to the stock camera app. But what's different about this is that you can separate focal and exposure points. So you have more control over the exposure of your image. It really gives you that kind of control that professional photographers are used to with their DSLR cameras. I mean, you can't set necessarily the aperture and the shutter speed and things like that, but it's a level of control that you don't necessarily get with the stock camera app. Camera Plus is similar to Pro Camera. So again, this is Pro Camera. Camera Awesome is another app that allows you to do these things. Now, as you know, both Android and iOS has Photoshop Express available to edit photographs. It's fine. It's okay. You can do really, really basic photo editing on it. For Android, it might be one of the better apps. I don't know. I haven't used an Android phone in over a year. But what I'm actually going to show you guys is FilterStorm. And FilterStorm is quite literally Photoshop for the iPhone. You can edit in layers. It has full levels, curve support. You can mask. It's really, really neat. And what's especially neat for photojournalists, I guess specifically, is that it has full IPTC caption data support. So basically what that means is, do you guys know what IPTC data is? You know, like when you visit the New York Times page and there are like descriptions underneath each photograph. That's part of the metadata that photojournalists embed into an image, but it's kind of more than that also. You can put your copyright information directly embedded into the metadata of an image. It's a basic feature in a lot of photo editing apps, and it's a pretty universal standard. So if I were to take an image and enter in my IPTC data and say, you know, like copyright my name 2012, I'll write a description, kind of like put in all my info, it becomes a part of that image. And so it can be seen not only in Photoshop, but like you know, if you upload your images to like Facebook or Google+, they'll actually pull in the description and IPTC data from the metadata within that image. And so FilterStorm, before FilterStorm, there wasn't an application that let you do this with the mobile photos that you took on your phone. It was typically a feature reserved for professional level photo editing software. I'll do a demo of that later. Hindenburg is a really cool audio recording app. I mean, I can run through this or not. Are people interested?
Yes.
Okay. This app is really freaking expensive. It's $30, but it really is kind of like having a professional audio recorder in your pocket. So I'll just kind of like run through this. There's also a free version of the app, but it only lets you record for a minute at a time.
Is there going to be a list of this, or can we get the?
This iBook, like I said, it's available.
Oh,
online.
that's what you're running.
This is part of the field guide, right?
Yeah, and then I'm going to be showing you like a couple apps that aren't in the field guide. So you guys, if you have questions, you can get those from me. All right, so the iPhone on its own, especially the 4S and the 5, they both sport really high quality image sensors for a cell phone. I mean, they're nearing the point where they can rival the image quality of a point-and-shoot camera. It's absolutely amazing. But you're limited. You know, it has a really wide fixed focal length lens. Video is really shaky on it because there's no like optical image stabilization. The audio quality is just terrible. Yeah, no, it's absolutely awful. But there's a lot of accessories that you can get for the iPhone to help like remedy this. So I don't know if ever like you guys are at an event and you want to like shoot video and take photos and things like that, and you want to pack as lightly as possible, you can just like get all the stuff for the iPhone. I'll run this a lot of these with you guys, but you'll start to see that you can actually get like rigs for the iPhone, and it gets pretty wild. So you'll see like things like this is just like a little tiny dolly to get really smooth hands. Again, this is a slider for that. But here comes like the more useful things. So the M-Cam Lite is a case for the iPhone. And who has the iPhone 5? No one? Okay. I have the iPhone 5 too, and right now there isn't too much available for us in terms of accessories, but I'm sure eventually these will come. So this is a really intimidating looking case for the iPhone, but it allows you to do a lot of really cool things. First, you'll see that there's a lens attachment on it, right? It also has a cold hot shoe mount on the top and a spot for a microphone. There's also a 3/4 inch tripod screw mount on the bottom of it. You can get battery powered lights. You probably don't want to get a generic wide angle lens for your. Again, here's another example of a case that has interchangeable lenses. I don't know if you guys saw this, but during the Olympics this summer, there was a photographer, he was kind of blowing up on social media because he was taking snapshots of swimming events with like a case very similar to this and a telephoto lens adapter on his iPhone. And they actually looked really pretty decent. So this stuff is usable. Professionals in the field are actually using these kind of sort of gimmicky accessories. Here's another one that has a pistol grip on it. And again, this is a 3/4 inch mount, so you can unscrew that bottom handle and attach it to a tripod if you want rock solid video. Study pods. I mean, these weren't made specifically for the iPhone. They were made kind of for like small prosumer level like video cameras, but they work really well for the iPhone. This is probably one of the coolest things, in my opinion, are the microphones, and these just plug in, to the microphone jack on the iPhone, and they make these adapters to where you can. It's a XLR to stereo mini adapter. So you can literally like hook up microphones that cost as much as the iPhone or more to the iPhone and get professional quality audio from that. So you'll see here a few different examples. And it's not necessarily a gimmick. I have done this. When I interned at a small South Texas newspaper this summer, they had to shoot these things called almost live video a lot. So I would like get to the scene of a car wreck or something, and I would shoot video for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes on my phone. Just get like a wide angle here, medium angle there, a detail angle here, and then I would quickly edit this stuff on my phone. I have a little shotgun mic just kind of like in my pocket. I made sure not to move around so that it like rub up against my body, but it helps a lot with the wind. And I don't know, if you guys work with video, you'll know that it's just super important to get good audio quality. It can really mar just like gorgeous video. This is probably my favorite case because it actually has built-in microphones right there and a pistol grip. So it'll help with stabilization and audio. It's kind of like in one device. But you'll see, kind of from this image here, I mean, you can get shotgun microphones and attach them directly to the iPhone. I have that shotgun microphone for my digital SLR camera, and it will work on my iPhone. It is crazy. Lavalier mics, I've used lavalier mics and my iPhone to produce just like really basic, like news stories. When I interview someone, I sit them down, I put a lav mic on them, hook it up to my iPhone, and like, boom, there's my interview. But all this comes at a price too, and that's battery life. I mean, the battery life on the iPhone is pretty amazing, but when I start showing you guys these applications, you'll notice that they're very processor intensive. So you should look into getting a car charger or a battery pack if you plan on doing this a whole lot. So you see, there are images taken with that telephoto lens. And here we start getting into the rigs. This is the first case that I showed everyone with a mic and a shotgun mic attached. Kind of ridiculous, but also kind of really neat at the same time, or at least I think so. Gorilla Pods are amazing.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I can hang it from anything and angles easy.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And that's like the cool thing about the iPhone too, right? It's really small and lightweight.
This is the case for it. I have on and I can take it off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a case that you put on so that then you can just stick it from anywhere, you know. Anyway, sorry.
No,
It's
it's totally cool. Have you guys seen the last Transformers movie? They used iPhones in that movie. I mean, like, these things can't take 1080p video, high quality, and they just basically stuck iPhones in places where they couldn't stick, like, large or even small HD cameras, you know? Like, there is a lot of use for this stuff. Okay, so if you want to go all out, I guess that's your setup, man. Backpack journalism of the 21st century, right there. And here, if you get the iBook version, I'll have links to everything. It's pretty neat. Does anyone have any questions so far?
This is basically with the iPhone 5, you're saying?
No,
It would work with
iPhone 5, 4, 4S, probably not anything older than that. Okay. So now I'm just going to run through applications with you guys. So I'm going to actually... disconnect that. There we go. Okay. So, here's the Pro Camera app that I told you guys about. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. Oh, I guess it doesn't switch to landscape. Alright. Well, I'll just do that. Okay. So, again, like I said, the coolest thing about this app is that you can actually separate exposure and focal points. This becomes more important if I wanted to get in really close to my friend Evo here, and I wanted the exposure on him. Well, let's say I moved this exposure around.
Which one was that again?
Pro Camera.
Okay.
And these are completely independent of each other.
Is that two? Okay.
Right? Oh, man. Okay. Step number 2. And the cool thing about this is you can do it not only in photo mode, but also video mode. So it's incredibly powerful. And you'll see it kind of has like software shape. You can add grids.
Those are their anti-shade?
Yes. And then this will also show you in real time the camera settings that the camera is trying to choose for you. Does anyone have any questions on this? Okay, so say I snap an image. Alright, this will just be quick and dirty. Okay. Perfect. Now I want to go in and I'm gonna edit this image. So here, I'll show you guys Filter Storm. Alright, so this is the basic interface on the iPhone. There's also an iPad version available. And the iPad version is really nice. But the mobile version for the iPhone is also pretty nice. So we'll go in to our library, and here we go. Here's the image I just took of my friend Dios here. What a winning smile. So,
Maybe a bit cheesy. His smile.
I don't think so.
Smile or not.
It's a grimace.
It's an expression for sure.
Right. So, before I start editing, I just want to go ahead and set up a layer, just in case I really messed up the editing process. I'm like, oh god, I just completely ruined this image. I can go ahead and just delete the layer that I created, right? So right here is where you'll see the layers. If you turn them on, you can add layers just like you can in Photoshop, right? So here's our layer, and then we'll go into adjustments, which is the filter icon right here. And you'll see, I mean, this is everything that you use in Photoshop, right? I mean, especially full curve support. That's, for me, that was a huge thing about getting this application. And so, you know, in photojournalism, it's really about minimal editing. So usually for this application, don't do more than one curves layer. But just like you can in Photoshop, you can manipulate this. It shows you the changes on your histogram in real time. And you can add points to manipulate it further. And you can mask it. So you can do some really basic dodging and burning with this too, which is really neat. You can do tone mapping. I mean, it's really cool. But for me, what also got me really excited about this application is, again, the caption information. So we'll go into info right here, and we'll go to IPPC. And again, this is that embedded data that's so crucial to a photojournalist's workflow. So the caption would kind of be the description,
Josh, could you do from the other side because you're blocking the
Okay. You can enter in keywords. So we'll just do, there says a keyword, yours, the description writer. Source is usually the photographer's name, or if you're shooting for a publication, then it would be like a publication name. Credit could be your name since you took the photograph. City, so this is Tempe. USA. Copyrights. Your name. Here.
For those of you who are not familiar with IPTC, one of the reasons you can embed this into your images is because wherever that photo travels, yeah, exactly, all that information will go with it. And so your copyright information, contact information, ideally you want to put it there in case it flies around the internet. Anybody who would like to use your images, whether it be for commercial purposes or even educational or blogs, will be able to give you proper credit for your work, and also if there is a budget, you can get compensated for it. And that's a lot of why you want to do that. And a lot of this too, when you upload this stuff, your photographs to the web, all this information that's embedded in your photo becomes a part of the search engine optimization. So it helps with pushing you up when people search for items just Google. And search.
So this metadata then would show up in the Google image search, so someone that actually does that wouldn't have to go in and make all those edits so that
Exactly.
it would optimize
Most-
properly?
Most
That's
uploads.
what a lot of the keywords are for
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
So like, you know,
Get your blog
if you
and
take
things
this
like
and
that
you
down
upload it to your website,
Right.
that'll add a layer of SEO on top of the keywords that you're already inputting for like
A
your
lot of times I
post.
have to go back in and fix it later,
Right.
so this would just be
And
easier.
then as the
Right.
pictures used, you put your blog name or whatever your branding
Right.
of it in there, it gets out there being in the web,
Mhm.
right, as well, so.
And remember, this isn't specific to like this application or anything. This is like an open standard. You can do it in Photoshop.
Right.
You can do it in Aperture. Pretty much like any photo editing application. This is like the standard. And you can also give it star ratings too, which is kind of neat. Okay, and again, you can also view your history. So mine was really basic. Opened, new layer, curves. Okay, and then we can go ahead and we can export this out. And there are a number of ways to do it. I'm just going to do it to the photo library, but this also has FTP support, if that's how you submit images. All right, and then we're done. Any questions about FilterStorm?
It will work with computer-based programs as well.
The caption data is embedded into the image. So that can be read with any application, and the internet reads it too.
I guess what I'm asking is, can I download FilterStorm to my laptop?
No, it's a mobile
Oh,
application.
mobile only, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions on FilterStorm? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys another really cool app. I'm going to kind of segue from the whole posting section because I just love this app. If you guys have iOS 6, you know that the camera app now has a built-in panorama function, but it's kind of limited, right? This is a free application in the App Store called PhotoSynth. It's developed by Microsoft, and it takes what's called PhotoSynth panoramas. So you'll see, just like the iPhone version, it guides you to create panoramas. But the cool thing is you can actually pretty much go wherever the heck you want with this. And it sometimes doesn't work the best in low light situations like this room, but it works really well outside. And so now it's stitching this panorama together, and you'll see the way that you view this is actually kind of more like a 3D image than it is a 2D panorama. But if you wanted to take this panorama with you and you wanted to like post it on Facebook, you can actually share this and it'll crop it for you if you want the image to be cropped. And the smart crop works really, really well. Okay. Are there any film users in here? No?
You mean like,
analog photography.
Yeah.
I take pictures, but I haven't had any developed in like 12 years.
Well, this is a really cool app. Again, I think this one's free. It's just a light meter, but it's on your phone, so it's a light meter that you'll have with you wherever you go. And so you basically just set your ISO and your aperture, and it'll tell you like what shutter speed you need to use. Just a really neat little tool.
What's that one called?
Light meter. It's also useful for DSLR photography. Okay, so PicStitch is just one of those. Oops, PicStitch is one of those collage apps. This one's free. You see these a lot on Instagram, right? But there could be instances where you would want to use one of these applications. So You can make like a really basic one. You just double tap on a frame. And so here's Evo here. You can add effects and everything too. You can move this around from within. So there we go. And then here's that panorama I just took. Right? And then you can export that anywhere. Any questions about PixStitch? That one's pretty straightforward. And again, there are paid ones, but this one's free and it works fairly well.
I'm curious about the whatever you're running that does the screen capture for your phone, the projector.
Oh, it's AirPlay.
Okay.
Yeah, so like if you have an Apple TV, you can just kind of stream your phone through Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Right? So I'm not going to really go into Instagram. Does everyone know what Hipstamatic is?
The best thing ever.
Huh?
I said the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I buy every new film that comes.
I know. I'm kind of
What is it?
Hipstamatic. I'm a huge Hipstamatic whore.
Yeah, me too.
I took one of these today, just like, oh, there's people fencing outside your house. But basically, think of Hipstamatic as like Instagram on steroids without the social media aspect to it. So it's actually a precursor to Instagram, but the thing is, it's really just about photography and filters. So you can switch. Oops. Go away, notification. You can switch out different lenses, flashes, and films to create different combinations for filters.
They do have something similar on the Android. I
Yeah.
don't remember what it's called, but they do have an app that will do that.
There are a few. I remember there's an application called Vignette that I used on Android, and that one was pretty good. And so you can switch out lenses,
Film.
different films. It's pretty neat.
Have
So
you
I
ever
really
used
like-
Snapseed?
I used to use Snapseed until I found FilterStorm, and then I haven't been able to look back.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can see Snapseed because like Snapseed has the filters and kind of like the textures and things like that too. So if that was a specific aesthetic that you wanted to get out of your images, then like go for it.
Okay.
For me personally, if I want like a certain look from an image, I usually just go with Hipstamatic, and then I'll just upload that image to Instagram. But if I'm taking, like for example, I'll show you guys an image that I took at election night. So this is Ron. Oh no. Okay. Anyway, this is a photograph that I took of Ron Barber and his wife and his supporters behind him. And so this is a photograph that I took, I hashtagged and I put on Instagram with no filter. And I did a quick edit in FilterStorm before I pushed it out. And I mean, like, there's no aesthetic here, but for me pushing something out kind of like professionally, I don't necessarily want there to be an aesthetic for it. But I also do a lot of kind of like Richard Kochi Hernandez style street photography, just not nearly as good, using Hipstamatic. And so, like, if I show you guys my Instagram account, you'll see there are a lot of like highly stylized images using the Hipstamatic app, and then pushing those images to the iPhone. And it's I don't really have kind of like a single image on Instagram, I guess. But I always try to mix up my newsy side with like kind of my personal side. Some people are against it, some people are more for it, but I say go for it. So again, you don't need to put crazy filters on an image in Instagram. And this is the powerful thing that I wanted to I wanted to kind of like segue to before I should start showing other apps, is after I edited this image in Filter Storm, I just brought it in to Instagram. And from Instagram, you can select different social media networks at one time, right? So literally in seconds, from like 2 minutes tops after taking this image, this was pushed out not only to Instagram, but also to Facebook and to Twitter. And it was searchable through both Twitter and Instagram, especially if you start using like hashtags. The hashtags are searchable through both Instagram and Twitter, which is pretty nice. Any questions? Can we keep rolling? Okay. All right, so here's the Hindenburg voice recording app. So this is really, really neat. If you guys are ever like kind of doing a quick and dirty like voice recording session or like a quick interview or something, and you use your iPhone, first rule, don't hold your phone like this to your subject. Hold your phone like that to your subject. The microphone is actually at the bottom. So, and that's for the 4 and the 4S as well. I don't know. I think all of them have the mic on the bottom, but bottom up, right? This right here are your recording levels. You know that you usually want to hover around -12 and -6, right, to prevent like peaking, but to get your audio as high as possible. If you move around this cursor here, it'll actually change the gain of the microphone, so that you can do that manual control. And then you'll see now my audio is hovering a lot closer to where I would originally want it. When you're recording, if you're doing an interview, right, with professional like recorders that I use, you can add markers so I know like what spot is important in an interview. So while this is recording, you can just hit that and you'll see that it placed one marker. And I can go ahead and wait for, like 25 seconds, like, ooh, another nugget of a quote. I'll add another marker. And when you're done, you slide to pause. You can see the session. Okay. It takes your latitude and longitude, so it's kind of neat. You can change all this stuff too, so you can add notes to your audio recording. You can change the keywords up to it, and we can go ahead and hit play. And so this is kind of like the interface, and you'll see these two yellow triangles are the markers that I set. And there's some really kind of basic tools for this as well. You can do really, really basic like cut and paste. If you wanted to go and do that. There are audio editing applications for the iPhone if you want to try that out. I would really recommend not doing it on an iPhone because it's pretty difficult to start doing multi-track editing on a small screen. But if you have an iPad, you can go ahead and try it out. iLapse is really cool. This lets you take time lapses on your phone, which is really, really neat, right? And you can take a frame every, so and so seconds, and take a total of however many frames. You can set the output frame rate, so 24, 25, and 30, pretty standard. And then you just, set this on a tripod and go. It's literally just kind of like, after you hit this button, you're done, which is pretty neat. Splice is a really basic video editing tool. And I've used this for publication. So it is a tool that you can use, but it's a really, really basic video editing tool. Basically what it lets you do is it's a single track video editor. So you have one clip and it follows another clip directly. You can't put tracks beneath or below it. You can add transitions and title slides, but that's about it. Actually, since I just got this phone, I don't think I've taken video on it at all. I'm just going to take a quick video. Go wide. I'm going to shoot for 5 seconds. Okay. Here's my video. I'm going to shoot for 5 seconds. Alright. And here I come. Perfect.
Could you be any creepier?
Was that?
Could you be any creepier?
He's working on it.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go in to Splice. Now there's a free and a paid version for this in the iOS store. The free version only lets you export in standard definition, so 640 by 480. But the paid version will let you export in high definition. For my purposes, I didn't really feel the need to pay for the full version. So you'll see just kind of standard definition, but for me it worked. Alright, so here we'll go in to my camera roll. I'll just start out, I'll import my video clips one by one. And I'll just say, yeah, go ahead, put in transitions. Okay, so I mean, here already is kind of like my basic video. If you tap on a clip, you'll see these plus points, and that'll let you add something to either end of them. So I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to add a title slide. So, you can zoom, move it around, change the duration. I'll just leave it at 3 seconds. And then here, I'll add a basic transition. And then again, at the end, I'll just add done. That's really big. Okay, so if you go in and tap on your video clip and hit the pencil, you'll see that there are a bunch of different options that you can do. You can speed it up, you can crop it, and the scissors will trim it, so you can trim specifically the section that you want to include. So let's say that's the section that I'm using. I just got a little bit from the beginning and a little bit from the end. I hit done. It's non-destructive, so you can go back to that video clip and you can extend it out or change it again. So yeah, I mean, this is really basic video. Let's hit preview and check it out. So, there we go.
Can we put that on Twitter somewhere and just tag TechPHX with it?
Sure.
That would be great.
Go right ahead. You think it's the worst thing about the
No, I think it's awesome.
You're saying with this last thing, if you edit stuff out, it's still there available if you want to use it
Yeah,
more?
yeah. Because like the original video files aren't really tampered with. It works just kind of like a really, really basic version of any like video editing software that's available on the market. So yeah, I mean, it's incredibly useful. Like I said, a lot of my assignments were to cover car crashes, very exciting stuff. So I kind of like get to the scene of the car crash, and I'm like, cool, let me bust out my iPhone. And I would just kind of like start out wide, and then I'm getting closer and take like a medium shot. and get uncomfortably close to everyone who's kind of like involved in the scene and just kind of like shoot. And then I would step aside, edit the video using Splice really quickly, send it, and then I would use my real camera to start taking photographs for like music. And that's also a point that I really want to emphasize too. The iPhone is a tool, but it's not necessarily the tool that's going to replace every other tool that you already have in your backpack, right? The iPhone camera is great, but it's nowhere near the quality of like John's 5D over there. It's a complementary tool, but in a lot of ways too, it's more powerful than John's 5D because it's an always connected device, right? It's connected 24/7 using the cellular service. So when you take an image, you have the ability to just share that single image with millions of people on social networks and like your personal website, Tumblr, whatever, in seconds. And you don't necessarily have that ability with DSLR. So you think of using the iPhone for photography or for video in much different ways than you think of using your DSLR or your huge honking video camera for video. I know like there was a lot of pessimism with photojournalists in the newsroom saying like, oh, the iPhone's just a toy, like it doesn't matter, it doesn't take good quality images, whatever. But people don't necessarily think that anymore, right? They thought of it as a tool to replace something when it really wasn't replacing anything. It's just adding a tool that didn't necessarily exist anymore, or didn't exist before. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's basically the most basic apps that I had to show off in terms of photography and video. Do you guys have any questions?
Well, I would say if you like Hipstamatic 8mm, it's an awesome app for video because it changes things into a variety, like 60s filters, and does a lot of really neat effects, easy to.
Right.
So if you like Hipstamatic, I think 8mm is kind of the fun version of the video for that one.
It really is.
I love it.
And again, I don't know how much of this is emphasized or was emphasized in the Instagram presentation, but there are a ton of publications and professional photographers on Instagram. So if you guys want to look like the New Yorker has a really fantastic Instagram, and they post photographers from like Ben Lowy to Ed Kashi, Gary Knight is on Instagram. Let's see, I'm following 7 Photo Agency. They're kind of like a smaller version of Magnum. Magnum Photography is also on Instagram. A lot. Let's see, David Allen Harvey, another famous documentary photographer. Marcus Gleasdale. I think James Nactwey is on Instagram. And so if you, let's check out Ed Kashi's Instagram. And he's kind of an example of an Instagram user that I really like, because he uses his Instagram not only to kind of just capture really quiet everyday moments in his personal life, but when he's out on assignments, he uses the service a lot as well. So you'll see just like really random things like that. They're absolutely crazy and absurd. But you'll see he uses them for assignments as well. Hurricane Sandy was one of the most Instagrammed incidents ever in the world. Most of the images that came from that were pulled from Instagram. So, yeah. Any questions? No?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.